either live by the gun or you die by the sword.
Welcome to The Good, the Bad, and the Weird MicroViews. I'm Nicho.
And I'm Chris.
And today we are continuing the Christmas holiday with something we threatened to do a very long time ago. We are finally covering a sequel before the original.
Yes, and I like to consider myself a connoisseur of bad sequels. And there is no one who makes a worse sequel than Disney. But I purposefully chose to try and get you started into the deep dark hole of animated sequels with one that's actually not that bad.
Yeah.
It's not the worst.
I'll hold my comments on it, because Disney's... I know...
Yeah.
I have qualms with Disney sequels.
I completely understand.
Specifically Star Wars. I haven't seen any of the animated ones.
Well, we're gonna change that. Because, yes, I'm not I like Star Wars, but my heart lies with the animated sequels that mostly went directly to VHS. And this time, we're watching Beauty and the Beast, an Enchanted Christmas, a direct-to-VHS special.
Yes. So, for those not familiar with these sequels, because I know a lot of people are not.
And there's a lot of them, so understandable.
This is set the Christmas after Belle comes to the castle. Beauty and the Beast, the Enchanted Christmas follows the residents as they plan to have a Christmas party to make the Beast happy, while an evil organ up somewhere in the castle plans to thwart them.
Yeah, so there is a lot of Disney sequels that do not connect to the original movie, like, almost at all. But there is a handful, and those are usually the ones that people argue are the good ones. So, like, the third Cinderella, the Lion King 1.5, that do tie in. And this one does try loosely to tie in. So this is before they dance in the ballroom, but after she's been captured in the castle.
Yes.
That's where this movie's timeline takes place.
Kind of, because it's all a flashback.
Well, yeah.
Because they're retelling the story to, who is it again?
It's Chip.
It's Chip?
The human Chip.
Yeah, that's right.
Like, the Christmas after this has happened. Yeah. Yeah, no, for some reason it is a flashback. I don't know why.
I have no clue. But it's directed by Andrew Knight and written by Phil Cobbler, Cindy Marcus, and Bill Motz. It stars Paige O'Hare, Robbie Benson, and Tim Curry.
My favorite.
So I did a little digging on this, and I was kind of interested in it. Knight, this is the only thing he's directed other than a television show called Get Ed and a short called The Plumber. But he is better known for his work in the art and animation department, specifically for Tank Girl.
Yes.
All Dogs Go to Heaven 2.
A delight.
Also, if you listen to our Pinocchio's Revenge episode with special guest Laffenstein.
Yes.
We considered talking about Pinocchio 3000, which he was a part of. Yeah,
and I love Tank Girl. All Dogs Go to Heaven 2 is a movie you can watch. It's not the worst, but not great.
I have seen none of these still.
Yeah, the only one that out of this collection that I'm going to solidly recommend is, of course, Tank Girl. You would love Tank Girl.
I know of Tank Girl. It's been on my list for a very, very long time at this point.
Yeah, if you're gonna watch All Dogs Go to Heaven, just watch the first one. The second one makes very little sense.
I think I've seen All Dogs Go to Heaven 1 a long time ago, but I couldn't tell you anything about it.
They're dead. That's all you need to know.
I know.
They're dogs, and they are dead.
I mean...
It makes the second one a little awkward, because again, they are all dead.
Yeah, also, if I remember right, the girl who plays Ducky from The Land Before Time is in All Dogs Go to Heaven.
The first one.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's dead by the second one.
Yeah.
So, it's awkward.
Yeah.
But, guess who's not dead yet for this movie? Like, a surprising number of the original cast.
Yeah.
Like, almost too many.
Well,
But not everyone.
Yeah, true. There's a lot of people who are still there. But when it comes to Cobbler and Marcus, this began their period of writing Disney sequels, including Pocahontas 2, The Lion King 2, Lady and the Tramp 2, The Hunchback of Notre Dame 2.
That one's the worst. It's literally the worst.
With Mott's working on all of those besides Pocahontas and Hunchback.
Okay, well, Pocahontas 2 isn't terrible. It's alright. It's passable. Hunchback 2 is actually garbage.
Yeah,
Lion
you
King
told
2,
me about it.
Lion King 2 is good, though. Like, it's actually good.
Okay.
So, like, he's got some credit under his belt.
Okay. Well, outside of these, Motz has a more prolific career in writing animated TV shows such as Darkwing Duck and various Disney's television sequels series.
Yeah, those were also quite the thing, like Tarzan.
Well, he did Aladdin 2 and Tarzan and Jane.
Yeah, Tarzan and Jane was an interesting run.
Yeah.
It was not that bad, but also, like, it's a Disney sequel TV show.
I have no point of reference for these.
the general point of reference that you would need to know is everything's budget is cut real far, and the whole goal is to appeal to kids who liked the first one without really ruffling any feathers or doing anything new.
Yeah.
You can't add to the plot.
No, not really. And speaking of stuff that I don't know where the plot's gonna go.
Oh, yeah.
O'Hara reprised her role as Belle, and she seems to have only done Belle for her entire filmography.
Yes.
Including in every Disney iteration of Beauty and the Beast, as well as Kingdom Hearts 2.
Yeah, so I don't know, again, you're not in the same Disney world as I am, but she has had several interviews talking about her joy of being Belle, and it's something that she takes a lot of pride in. And has said multiple times that, like, if there is Belle, she would prefer that she voice it than have someone else do it. That's how much she loves the role.
Well, I guess maybe it's the same for Benson because he did Square Enix and Disney for Square Enix, sorry, whatever.
Sure.
But yeah, he did Beast on all of that as well too. So it's impressive.
Yeah, it's not terribly unheard of, honestly, especially for, like, a big character like Beast or Belle or, like, Winnie the Pooh, where, for the most part, unless something happens to the actor or, like, we really can't get a hold of them, most of the time, especially for a big-name person, they try and hang on to that role.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I can see it, because...
Now, side characters, that's a different story.
I'm sure that changes quite a bit. I didn't go through everyone in this movie just because... I didn't feel like I wanted to.
Oh, no, totally understandable. The only side character that anyone cares about is, of course, Mrs. Potts, played by dear Angela Lansbury. Do not worry, she came back for this.
Good. And as for the other main cast, I don't think we need to introduce Tim Curry at this point, because we've... I
have harped on him so much.
This is our second time this year, and I think this is, like, our fourth movie we've done with Tim Curry in it.
Yes, he is a delight. And once again, as the villains attached to the wall of the castle, still a delight.
Yeah. Well, and so, like, getting into it, some of, like, the very first things I caught on is, like, it's still pretty decent animation, because I'm used to seeing, like, bits of the sequels where it's, like, awful.
Normally, the animation budget for these is much smaller than what was given to this one. This is pretty early in Disney's attempts at direct-to-VHS sequels, and they knew that this was going to be a popular one. Beauty and the Beast was incredibly popular from opening day. And so they knew they were going to have an audience for this, so they knew the budget could be a bit bigger, and they hadn't yet reached the point of, like, furiously shoveling out sequels.
Yes.
So, yes, this one's animation is much better than, like, the next one in the series.
And I will say the CGI is pretty bad, though. That hasn't aged very well, but...
It wasn't good when it came out.
Yeah. And, I mean, to be fair, this came out, 98 or something? 99?
Yeah.
Not 97, yeah, that's right, because it came out 8 years after the original. Which,
for a Disney sequel, is pretty long, at least by today's standards. A lot of these, like, quick turnaround ones that we're more familiar with, they come out, like, a year or two after.
Okay.
So for 8 years, again, this was early in Disney. This is when they were trying more so. So 8 years was a respectable amount of time. They thought they were having a real audience to cater to.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that. But the one thing I do also like is that the plot itself is an interesting way to explore the castle and expand not necessarily the world, but just, like, everything else that went on inside the castle.
I'm glad you like it, because the plot for this is... It got reworked really hard. Like, full-on different bad guy level.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so the plot of this originally was going to be about Gaston, the first original bad guy.
I know who Gaston is.
I'm just making sure.
I know who Gaston is. Thank you very much.
Well, as we all know, no one fucks like Gaston, and it was supposed to be about Gaston's son coming to ruin and like torment the Beast in revenge for his father's death. That was that was going to be the original bad guy and plot, and it wasn't really going to be based around Christmas. But the team decided that it would be nice to have a Christmas film, especially since Beauty and the Beast happens in winter already.
Yeah.
And at this point, Disney didn't have, like, a hard go-to Christmas, like, with any of the princesses or anything.
Mm-hmm.
So that would have been very marketable. And Belle was already their wintertime princess. So they changed it to wintertime, and then they were like, yeah, we don't really want Gaston to have a kid. Because, again, with the exception of like a handful, a lot of these sequels try not to add too much lore to the characters. The two big exceptions being Cinderella and Aladdin. Okay. Where we get to meet Aladdin's dad in one of them, and then Cinderella, one of them full on goes back in time to like rework history. Huh. Both of those, again, excellent. Normally, though, we try not to have any real, like, plot, because, like, what if we accidentally fuck up our own timeline?
Yeah, that was one thing that I thought was weird, is that they're tying in the Beast's hate of Christmas to it being Christmas Day, or Christmas Eve, the day he was cursed. Yes. I thought that was a weird aspect of trying to tie in, like, why Beast hated Christmas, instead of him just being a spoil sport, because at that point in the movie, or at that point, he's a spoil sport.
He is. And it is nice that, like, we do get to see more of the castle, and, like, we do get to see more of the evil witch who cursed him, and of that day, because we get, like, a really brief glimpse of it during the original movie, but not a lot, just kind of a quick, like, whatcha, it happened. This is, like, it is a nice progression for, you know, not adding a whole lot of depth to the overall story.
Yeah. The one thing, like, and this is the part where I think it gets a little bit weird, is it seems like at the Christmas party he had guests over. Yes. And so that's never really addressed, because if they were guests and they got turned to furniture...
Okay, so you've accidentally stumbled upon one of the great mysteries of Beauty and the Beast. And it is a problem that literally has plagued Beauty and the Beast all the way up until the most recent live-action version with Emma Watson, which has its ups and downs. I will give it some, like... There is some actually good parts to that one. They do try and elaborate the story, at least to ground it in, like, real-world history, which I like. I like that we attempt to make it a little bit more French than just occasionally saying the word baguette. Oui. Yeah, like, there's, like, one French person in the entire movie in the original one. So, like, but that is something that everyone is aware of, and we try our best to ignore with Beauty and the Beast, is the fact that, like, and this movie kind of adds to the problem. There's a lot of live inanimate objects. There was a lot of live inanimate objects in the first one, like all of the forks and spoons being people. Yeah. Why? Who are these people? Well, now
the guests.
Well, now all of the Christmas ornaments are also people.
Be our guest.
Yeah.
Be our guest. Well, they were going to put all the guests to work this time.
Yeah, I was going to say, the guests all bothered to learn choreography dances while they were imprisoned here.
I mean, if you don't got anything else better to do.
That's true, but, like, in the newest one, they do try and, like, cut back on, like, how much inanimate stuff there is without changing too much, because it's just a retelling of the first one. Okay. Whereas with this sequel, they did not give two shits, and they are just, like, making full-on, like, there's a coat rack attached to the wall who is alive. Why? Who is this man?
And that's going to bring me right to exactly what I wanted to talk about. Because, so Tim Curry plays the villain in this movie.
He does.
He's a very angry pipe organ. Yes. He used to be the court, or his personal composer.
Which, again, it's kind of French aristocrat. Like, I know the new one has, like, pinpointed when this movie's supposed to have happened. But this is before that. So just imagine rich asshole. Yeah. With nothing better to do.
And, well, and here's the thing. So, like, he's pissy, and the whole plot of this movie is basically Belle's trying to throw a Christmas. The organ is afraid that Belle's gonna take the beast away from him because they're best friends, and his only friend.
Yes. Well, and it sounds like the organ/composer is only really good at doing dark, sad, moody music, and is worried that if Belle brings happiness into it, he'll have to, he won't be useful anymore.
Yeah.
Because he can't write happy music.
No, exactly. And
So instead of learning how to write happy music, or even just transposing what he has into a major key and, upping the tempo, he's like, no, instead I'm gonna kill Belle.
Yeah, exactly. Through the help of... And here's the thing. So this thing is chained to a wall.
I mean, it's an organ.
How? But how? How did he get there?
Oh, I have no idea. Same way that one man is attached to the wall.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I can understand, the one who's attached to the wall, the rest of the furniture putting him up on something. But this is a full organ that is not going anywhere.
I have no idea. I would love to say it's a metaphor for him chaining himself to his work, but this movie's not that deep. This organ is just attached to the wall. Everyone else is allowed to hop around and learn dance choreography, and
he's hidden away and no one can hear him though.
But he's also loud enough to be heard from the courtyard.
Yeah,
so I have no idea.
Yeah, there's a lot that doesn't make sense in this movie.
Yeah. Also, he's attached to the beast's room, which is the West Wing in the first one.
Okay.
Because he spends a whole deal being like, you can't go there. Rah, that's where I break shit. It's my rage room, my emo child room. You don't go in there. And she's like, I'm going to go in there. So, in the movie, it shows, the beast chambers, and then, literally, there's a door, and he's just in the maestro's room. So he's not, that hidden away. He's, right there.
Yeah, I don't know. I know what they were trying to go for, but, it just doesn't...
There's several occasions where they imply that he's, up a tower somewhere.
Yeah.
But he's definitely not.
No, and he's aided by this, little clarinet.
He's a piccolo.
Piccolo, that's what it was. You're right,
right. He's supposed to be a piccolo, but, he's drawn real funky.
What is it? What even is his name?
Fleet?
Philippe? Yeah, Philippe.
Yeah, what is Philippe?
I don't...
he is... The instrument that they play in the movie, whenever he makes noise that's not him speaking, that's a piccolo.
Okay.
But he is not shaped like a piccolo. He is shaped like a very small clarinet.
Yeah.
So, I don't... But, that's not a size that clarinets come in. I mean, they make small clarinets, but they don't make 4-holed clarinets.
But as a kid, I mean, most wouldn't notice.
No kid cares. Absolutely not. And, he's annoying, but he's not the worst side character that we've ever seen, so...
He's not, because you do feel like he's one of the ones that, I really don't care for the most part about the organ story, but,
oh, no, I don't care at all.
This little guy's just constantly berated. He's the sidekick that that's, he's forced to be there kind of thing.
Yes.
But yeah, I don't know. There's just a lot that doesn't go well with this, or it's weird in this movie, because... Yeah. So, for some of the characters, Beast... Granted, it's been a while since I've seen the original. He's looking a little puggish to me.
Yeah, so with the exception of Cogsworth and with the exception of the inanimated objects, there was definitely less budget for this than the original.
You don't say.
Yeah, there's more budget than others, by a long shot. Everyone at least has eyes. But yeah, the Beast, there are some scenes where he looks really great. And I like that this movie does give us time to elaborate on, him being more Beast-esque.
Okay.
So, it spends extra effort to show that, even when he's not trying, his claws dig into wood and break shit, and,
he skates around on the pads of his feet somehow.
Yeah, they do a good job, and, he walks around like a dog instead of on, most of the movie you see him, standing up in the first one. So I do like that we elaborate more that, he is not civilized. No. He is an animal. So I like that. Belle looks goofy.
A bit. Not as goofy. So I've looked at the covers of all the sequels. She doesn't look as goofy as the last movie.
Oh, I fully agree. Part of the problem is the original Belle was drawn during the height of Disney's princesses with no noses.
Okay.
It was a phenomenon that started with the very first princess, Snow White, and it was part of the art style at the time where you didn't really draw a nose, you just kind of hinted that a nose might be there.
Yeah, kind of like an anime nose.
Original Snow White was heavily inspired by anime styling, so yes. And then it kind of evolved from there, and so when Belle was originally drawn, we were still at the height of the, like, oh, the ladies don't have noses.
Okay.
The men have noses, but the ladies don't get noses. But by the time this movie rolls around, there's been enough criticism for them to be like, we should add a nose. Unfortunately, though, the nose that they picked is more nose than they had previously pretended not to have.
Okay.
Which I think is the main reason why this Belle looks a little goofy, is they bothered to put a nose on her, and they didn't in the first movie. Like, she almost has no nose.
Well, that makes sense. I mean, granted, I didn't watch any of these back-to-back at all, so, like,
I don't recommend watching them back-to-back. The animation styling changes, especially for the first one, looks great for the most part, until you get to the Beast's hue and form, and then he can just stop. You just turn the movie off before he turns into a human. The second one, if you don't watch them back to back, doesn't look terrible. And your memory of Belle, you'll be like, that's Belle. That's close enough to Belle. Okay. But if you watch them back to back, you're gonna be like, that is not Belle. That is Belle's sister.
Well, the other part that really stuck out for me in this movie specifically is just how much of a man whore Lumiere is.
Oh, you didn't catch that the first movie?
No, because, like, the first movie, like, we only really see him with Babette.
Yes, the little duster.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so it's assumed, like, that's their love affair, but then, like, they go up to the attic to find the Christmas ornament that's in charge of decorating, and he is all over her, too.
Yes, and I think part of the reason why it's striking is because in the first movie, I don't think they were ever intending Lumiere to not be a giant man whore. I think they didn't draw enough eligible bachelorettes. Because if you think about it, the only two bachelorettes other than the feather duster is Belle herself. Obviously can't have that. And then
Mrs. You're creative enough.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a fanfiction out there somewhere of that. But not for the Disney team. And then Mrs. Potts, which it is regularly stated that Miss Potts is either already married, which is established in the newest film.
Okay, that's what I was thinking. I'm like, isn't she married?
In the newest film, they confirm, like, yes.
Okay.
100% married, but her husband wasn't part of the enchantment. He's, like, been living in the town. It's a mess.
Okay. I've seen the live action.
Yeah. So, like, we messed up some stuff there, but, like, that's their explanation. Is like, oh, she's married, but her husband's in the village for some reason and forgot about her. But in the original one, it's just assumed that she's a widow. Because, like, she never mentions that she has a husband, but she definitely has at least one child.
Chip might be adopted.
There's a lot of teacups in that cupboard.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I don't know. It's the one thing that, like...
Yeah, they just didn't have enough lady inanimate objects for Lumiere to flirt with.
No, not at all.
So now that we have two...
And even then, like... Babette's not in this movie at all.
Well, no, obviously we can't have him be that obnoxious.
But even then, the new Christmas ornament character that's, like, on the cover, I feel like they're barely in this movie at all, too.
Oh, no. They definitely are barely in this movie, because, again, a lot of this movie got recut to, like, change up who the villain was, and I feel like when they did that, they also had to get rid of a lot of her scenes. So yeah, she's, like, barely in this. Christmas, honestly, is barely in this movie.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, it's the central focus of what they're trying to do, and on top of that, like, speaking of weird-looking characters, the organ looks like Ballsack Gollum from those old animated Lord of the Rings movies, but, like, it looks like he got it on with a snake kind of thing.
Yeah, that's the only... So, for the most part, the animation doesn't bother me in this movie. I regularly watch a lot worse.
Yeah.
I don't understand why the organ is the only one who actively looks different than everyone else.
I don't either. And also, like design-wise, everyone looks elegant, and then he's got those stupid piano cufflinks.
Yeah, I don't know.
Not the cufflinks, just the full cuffs are all piano.
Yeah, his design is so much different than everyone else. Like, everyone else's hints at them being a clock or a lamp thing or a Christmas tree ornament. His is just blatantly like, a music nerd.
Yeah. Well, and on top of that, like, talking about the oddities of this movie, too, is that we talked that there's like barely any French accents in this movie, but the entire basement and heating room, it's just New York City, and the axe is some old Jewish dude.
Yeah. Yeah, I never could quite figure out the axe. The only thing I can think of is when this movie came out, it was kind of like a running bit from Disney to have like one random fill-in blank character here who has like no bearing on the location.
Yeah.
Like, Lion King, why do we have a Brooklyn man as a parrot?
Why not?
That, yes. And so I feel like they were trying to like throw in the like ahaha character.
Yeah.
But the aha character is just a Brooklyn Jewish man.
Yeah, he feels like a dumpier version of the grandfather from Princess Bride.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, who at least was a realistic character.
Yeah.
The other thing that like makes no sense is like the axe openly acknowledges the fact that he like doesn't celebrate Christmas, that he's Jewish.
Yeah.
And yet they do nothing with that. They don't even like give him a tiny thing on the side. Nothing. No dreidel for this man. Nothing. He just has to celebrate Christmas with everyone else.
Yeah, they need him to chop down a Christmas tree.
Yeah. I don't feel like they need to like give the axe a storyline, but it would have been at least polite to be like, oh yeah, and he gets his own holiday.
Yeah. No,
this movie, okay, but that's the one thing about this movie. This movie goes out of its way to be like, everyone must celebrate Christmas, even if you have trauma based around the holiday, even if you are a Jewish axe living in the basement, everyone must celebrate Christmas. Like, as an adult, I feel like forcing the beast to relive the worst day of his life via Christmas is maybe rude and a little insensitive.
Yeah.
Like, maybe there's a more delicate way we could have like been like, hey, we would like to celebrate it. You don't have to. We're more than happy to have a small gathering.
Well, they have
somewhere else.
They have to do it in secret too, because otherwise the beast would tear it all down.
Which is their argument at the beginning, but they also go, it's for the beast.
Yeah.
We're gonna bring him here.
Force Christmas on you. Be a family with us.
Yeah, this is very much like a you will celebrate, goddammit.
Yeah. Which, I don't know. There's so much weird about this movie too, because on top of that, like, how is the composer all of a sudden able to like do magic?
No idea.
Like, and it's not just magic, it's like music magic.
Yes. Never explained, and then also it does nothing.
No. I mean, it creates I will say it is a pretty dope boss battle at the end.
It is cool looking. I will give you that. But also, like, at one point he, like, magics Chris, like, music out of a box, like sheet music.
Yeah.
And then does nothing with this.
No.
Like, at no point does anyone else able to manifest writing of any kind. Like, he's the only one, but only for a little while, and he also, like, immediately gets rid of it.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Why can he do this?
I don't know. And I don't know. And also they talk about like he can tear the castle apart if he wanted to, and it's like, yeah. How is
Okay, so we both work regularly with large buildings.
Yeah.
Granted, we haven't dealt with a castle in a while. At least I haven't.
I've never touched a castle.
I hope never to touch a castle, I'm not gonna lie to you. But the theory of it is similar to the box stores that you and I work with. I
think I have an answer to this. They built the room around him.
I would believe that, because this is an old-timey organ.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they are huge, and they are incredibly heavy. And yes, you would have a room or space designated to said organ.
Yeah.
However, you don't normally build the room around them. I know organs look like they take up a lot of room, and they do, but they are individually pieced together.
Yeah, I know, but like, at that point, you're taking apart a sentient being piece by piece.
Yeah, that does seem a little barbaric now that you mention it.
That's a horror movie in the making.
I mean, that's true. The only logic I can think of is that the castle was already unstable.
Yeah.
And he's really heavy.
Yeah.
And him wiggling around. didn't help the definitely not reinforced wall that he's attached to.
That also brings up an interesting question about even the original movie.
Mm-hmm.
If everyone was turned into inanimate objects, where's the actual inanimate objects?
Exactly. No, you've hit the nail on the head of the Beauty and the Beast conundrum.
This stupid movie.
Yes.
Which, I mean, I don't know. He's also such a weird character, too, because he keeps talking about how it's bliss to be alone, but all he wants is Beast.
Yes, it feels very, relationshipy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird.
It is weird. I don't hate him as a villain for a kid's movie, though.
No.
Mostly because while his motives don't make a ton of sense, they make enough sense for, like, kid plot.
Yeah.
And it's not the worst kid plot that we've seen. I mean, we watched all those Land Before Times, and there was definitely worse villains there.
If you even had villains.
True.
Yeah.
So, like, I'll give him a pass villain-wise. Yeah, there's a lot of that doesn't make sense, but again, this is a Disney sequel. I'm not expecting a whole lot of logic. It's more logic than finding children in the woods and adopting them random, so, like, I will take it.
Yeah.
My main joy of this movie is getting to see the little slice of lifeiness of the castle and the inanimate objects. For most Beauty and the Beast fans, the entire appeal is Beauty and the Beast. We could care less about him when he's not a beast.
Exactly. And, like, the Beast is barely in this movie and only shows up to do the helpful things.
Yeah, but it's just enough for, like, those of us who, like, were interested in more, and thus, you know, ended up in the whole fan fiction of, like, random fill-in monster here books.
Yeah.
So, like, it adds to that. I do like that we at least get to see more of the castle. It's cute, it's fan-filly, it's long for what it is, but, like, I'm not terribly upset.
Well, I wouldn't even say it's long for what it is. The movie's only an hour and 10 minutes, so...
Yeah, it just... I don't know, there's not a whole lot of, like, substance to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's not, like, there was a lot of room to, like, explain Christmas traditions.
Mm-hmm.
And the only Christmas tradition that was even briefly mentioned was Yule log, and, like, very briefly.
Yeah.
So, like, it feels like just, like, a cute little slice of life walkthrough, and then we're done.
Yeah, it feels like how we talked about with some of the Christmas movies last year.
Yes.
Of how, like, it's around Christmas, but it's not really Christmas. Because I think the other unfortunate thing about this movie is that the big reveal that it leads up to, that this leads up to the ball dance that they do.
Yes, which, I mean, is a nice tie-in, at least.
Yeah, but also I think it makes that dance itself feel less special than the movie, or less special from the original, and just kind of cheapens the whole thing overall.
I don't mind story-wise that it ties in.
No.
That's not really my trouble. My main trouble is while we don't get the full view of the dance, there is too much of the dance, but it's not the original one.
No.
The original one was a cinematic masterpiece when it came out because of the flying camera angles that were all done in a brand new way. It was breathtakingly beautiful, originally composed music, and this one redraws it for no good reason. It's not the whole dance, thank God.
No.
But it's enough for you to forget how magical the first version of it is.
And I think part of the reason they didn't redo it, because if they used the original dance, it would just stand out as
obviously
bad.
A different character.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. That, and there's a lot of, like, little bits that are kind of left unremembered from the first movie.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't get a ton of what it was like during this time period in the movie, but it's not completely unforgotten. There is, like, a whole snowball fight scene that we just kind of gloss right over.
Yeah, it's, I don't know, this movie just feels like Beauty and the Beast light, but like with nothing to do with the Beauty and the Beast, because, like, it just doesn't, like, I understand them trying to, like, tie it back into the original movie, but it just feels so alien from what the original story was, and just feels like you said, it was rewritten and redone and everything, but it just feels pieced together and just kind of like, oh, it'd be cool if we tied in here, if we tied in here, if we tied in here.
Yeah, and I think my main, like, sadness with it is we've gotten kind of spoiled in recent years with Disney Christmas-ified, like, sequels and smalls.
Yeah, I still haven't seen the Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas one.
It's cute.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is the more recent stuff, especially with the introduction of Disney Plus, where we can just put out really short stuff, 10, 30-minute long stuff, and consider it done without having to worry about it having printed and shipped and all that, has really kind of spoiled us, because now we're getting ones that are shorter, thus more condensed, and they work better.
Yeah.
So, I wouldn't hate to see this redone, especially Beauty and the Beast idea of Christmas revisited. It's a classic, it's definitely a winter film. They're right for it. This movie, while cute, and I watch it regularly anyway because it's one of the better sequels, it's not the best.
Okay.
I would love to see it redone. I would love to see it spend more effort on, like, why Christmas is important, other than just the fact that, like, tradition.
Yeah.
And we've seen more of that with, like, the new Frozen Christmas specials, where we talk about the different, like, they go through the different traditions, granted very quickly, but it's at least acknowledged that, like, hey, we have tinsel and things because reason.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just a mixed bag for me, because, like, the voice acting is good. Mm-hmm. The plot, like we've said, is the animation is still kind of
Yeah.
But, like, I don't know, it just...
But think about it. We could redo it. It could be 45 minutes long. The animation would be much better. And my main complaint, the music written isn't bad, but the music was all recorded live with a live orchestra, and so the balance is really bad.
Okay.
Like, the villain song, which Disney is famous for doing great villain songs. If you can find a good recording of it, this is a great villain song. Tim Curry sings it.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. But when you watch it in the movie, you can barely hear it.
Yeah.
The balance of it is all messed up because he's an organ, so they have an organ playing, but they tone the organ down really far so you can't hear the organ. And, like, there's a whole orchestra playing, but you can barely tell. So, like, I feel like a redo would be amazing because the music's good, it's just not done well. And unfortunately, depending on who you are, the gal who voices Belle, while does a great job voicing Belle, her singing isn't the best. And unfortunately we don't get a Angela Lansbury song in this one, despite her many years on Broadway and being a world-renowned singer. Didn't get one from her. We got Belle singing twice. And Tim Curry. And don't get me wrong, I love Tim Curry, but Tim Curry has a style.
Yeah. And to be honest, I kind of forgot that there are musical moments in this movie altogether.
I completely understand. And a lot of that is just bad recording, unfortunately. I love the concept of doing a live orchestra. I think it fits in with the Beauty and the Beast theming really well. I mean, the first one had a live orchestra, but was much better recorded.
Yeah.
And has become a, like, masterpiece in, like, the orchestra redirecting world. Like, people regularly redo the Beauty and the Beast music for live on, like, high level performances. So, like, we could have done a little bit more.
I agree.
Yeah.
It has the bones of being something as a solid sequel.
It does.
But it just completely misses the plot by ignoring everything that made the original movie interesting.
Yeah, unfortunately, which is too bad, because, like, it's really close, which for a Disney sequel is pretty great.
So, I guess on this one, Chris, would you recommend watching this movie?
Yes, Charlie. If you have kids or have run out of Disney things to watch for Christmas time, sure. Like, it's not bad. If you're a sucker like me for Disney classics or just, like, stupid stuff in general, yeah, this is one of the better Disney sequels.
Okay.
If you are a general audience viewer, now, just don't. It's not worth your time. There's so many other things to watch.
I agree with that. I would say I would rather watch this than most of the Christmas rom-coms I've watched this year so far.
Oh, yeah, no, if your choices are, Kiss the Prince Christmas Edition 2, or this, I'd watch this.
Yeah.
Yeah, at least Tim Curry's in this one.
Exactly. And, I mean, at least it's pretty decent for a kid's movie.
Yeah, I mean, it's entertaining, it's stupid at times, but, like, yeah, I mean, it's bright colors, it's vaguely Christmassy throughout. At least it's, I mean...
It follows our definition of a Christmas movie. It's set around the time. It's about bringing family together.
It's slightly more Christmassy than, like, Die Hard, so, like, I'll give it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Anywho, that's been the Good, the Bad, and the Weird MicroViews.
Thanks for listening.
Peace. Thank you for stopping by this here town of the Good, the Bad, and the Weird. We appreciate your listenership, and if you want more of our takes in your life, feel free to check us out on social media at The Good, the Bad, and the Weird Podcast, or TGTBTW for short. As well, if we missed a fact, your favorite part of a movie, or just have a suggestion and want to reach out and say howdy, feel free to email us at tgtbtwpodcast@gmail.com. And feel free to join our Discord at The Good, the Bad, and the Weird Podcast, where we talk about movies, just share random banter here and there. And always, check out our podcasters, streamers, or any other content creator we shout out in our episodes. We really appreciate it. And as always, thank you for listening. Peace.